Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and this is a tutorial on how to make a cherry mead. Mead is a honey wine, and when you add a flavor to it like cherry, you come up with it's called a Melomel. So this is a cherry Melomel. And this is an easy recipe for beginners, so I've eliminated a lot of the fancy stuff and the chemicals and all of that, and this will still make a great cherry mead. I do have another recipe on my website that's a little more complex, that you use things like pectic enzyme, energizer, tannin, and stuff like that. If you're a little bit more experienced with winemaking or mead making, you might want to check that tutorial out on my website, and I'll put the URL here in the video. But this is a basic mead, and pared down and pretty easy to do with a lot of common ingredients and materials. And I wanted to say one thing before you start. Make sure that you sanitize all of your stuff, and I will show you that. I'll cut in a video to show you a little bit about sanitizing. Sanitize all your equipment in the sink. And what I mean by sanitize is I don't just mean wash, I mean actually use some kind of a sanitizing agent, because you want to kill any bacteria or yeast on any of the equipment. You're making a mead which is like a rich environment for yeast to grow in, right? You only want your yeast to grow, so you sanitize everything. And you can do this with a commercial sanitizer. I use something called Easy Clean. It's no rinse. Or you can use 1 tablespoon of unscented bleach per gallon of water to sanitize it all and then rinse it all off. So let me go over what you need for this cherry Melomel. You need 1 pound of cherries. You need 3 pounds of honey, which comes out to about 4 cups of honey. And use a clover honey. Whenever you do a Melomel, a fruit mead, use a clover honey. It works the best. You're going to need 1 cup of orange juice, a gallon of water, a jug, an optional funnel, a packet of yeast, and I recommend using a champagne yeast, but I'm going to use a Montrachet here, which is okay. It's kind of a dry, but it'll be fine. But use a champagne yeast if you can. Airlock with a rubber stopper, drilled rubber stopper, and a solid rubber stopper. Before you start mixing the mead, the water and honey, I recommend you start your yeast and follow the instructions that come with the package. Typically, you add the yeast and you gently stir it into some warm water. Just whatever the directions say on the yeast packet, that's what I would do. And I'll gently stir it, and in a short time that'll start bubbling a little bit, so you'll know it's activated. That activates the yeast, acclimates it a little bit, gets it ready for being added. So now, you can set that aside and start working on your batch. Pour the honey into your jug, and then fill the jug about halfway with water. Put the stopper on that jug securely. Grab that jug and shake it up really good for a good solid 5 minutes. You want that honey and that water to mix really, really well. Add some more. If you're having trouble with it, add some more water. Take your pound of cherries and wash them thoroughly. Don't sanitize them. And then remove the stems and the pits, and then slice those cherries up, not into halves but into quarters, or even more if you can, because you're going to have to fit all of those cherries through the jug, the neck of the jug, so it's going to be a little bit of effort there. But with this, by doing this, we avoid having to use a fermentation pail. Okay, once you've got that shook up really well, add 8 ounces, 1 cup of orange juice to it. Now the orange juice, you kind of think, oh, it's going to make it taste orangey, but actually it won't. The orange juice does a couple of things. It adds more nutrient, and it also balances out the acid for a couple of reasons. For taste and for the health of the yeast. The acidity level of honey itself is really low, and sometimes that will give the yeast trouble growing. So adding the orange juice will make it much more conducive to the yeast being nice and healthy. So let's add the orange juice, and let's just stir it up some more. Okay, now here's the tricky part, is adding cherries. So this is going to take a little bit of time, and you may want to use the funnel, or do it any way you can do it, but add those cherries right in there. Stapper it and shake it a little more. Looking good. Now top this bottle off and I'll show you about how high to get it. Now we've got to be careful because that foam will settle out. But when this thing starts fermenting, you don't want to go too high with it because it will actually come right up and possibly clog the airlock, which could cause a mess. So I generally go about like that, and then you can always add a little bit more later, a little bit more water later. So now this thing is ready, ready for the yeast. Okay, after you've reactivated that yeast, you can pour it right into the must, into the mead. This is called pitching it. You pitch the yeast, and you're good to go. Fill your airlock about half full of water. Put it on there firmly. Now set this in a dark place or cover it with a cloth. And within 24 to 48 hours, that airlock should be bubbling nicely. Now, in 30 days, siphon this into a new jug, a new sanitized jug, leaving all the cherries and all the sediment behind. This is going to get like an inch of sediment. Leave all of that behind. Put it in a new jug. And keep racking it once a month like that into a new sanitized jug until it's nice and clear. After about 6 months, you can bottle it. And it should be ready to drink in 9 months to a year. Okay, it's 24 hours later and that airlock is looking good. So we're getting some nice bubbling there. So, you know, keep your bottle covered, keep it out of the light, and keep an eye on that airlock. You get a really vigorous fermentation, it could, you know, fill up with junk from the thing. You would take it off and wash it, we'll clean it out so it doesn't clog.